Happy Wednesday. It's the Wednesday of all Wednesdays in August.
Yep.
Thank you all so much for tuning in to the PHNX Coyotes podcast. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, leave us a 5-star review. I'm Leah here with Craig, Petey, and Shawn. How is everybody doing?
Wait,
okay, go ahead. It's a typical Wednesday
Seriously.
because Petey has not read the script and he can't remember the nicknames that he assigned to
But
the whole expansion
the whole
teams.
goddamn show was your idea, and you should copy the things. Like,
I
why
should
should I
copy
be responsible for that?
for your own responses.
Yes.
Why should you?
Well, I sent them to you.
There's something called. Do you know this thing about individual
Do you
responsibility?
know Mike Luke is in
Petey?
studio
What do
today?
you teach your kids? What do you teach your kids? Individual responsibility.
I
So did you bring your own responses
literally don't
today,
even talk to
Petey?
my kid
No, you
anymore.
did.
It's
What
on
would,
his own.
what would happen if I wasn't here? By the way, this is a continuation of an argument that was happening before the countdown even went. So let's just get on track here, and we'll start with our $5 super chat from Roaring Fork. Thank you, who said, all I took from Craig's article was, quote, I'm sick of covering the Coyotes and want to move to San Diego. Is he wrong?
I mean, if San Diego gets an NHL team, I might send my resume just to see what's up.
What would the San Diego ALLCITY be? SD...
Yeah,
SNDGO?
Yeah, I don't know.
SNDGO? Wait, what?
SDGO?
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 I feel like you got to
SDGO.
lean just more into the Diego part. I don't
Yeah.
know what that looks like.
SDGO.
Yeah, SDGO I like.
It's too bad you can't go 5 and just go Diego.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go Diego, go.
Go Diego, go. Go Diego.com.
Good
Go
lord.
Diego.go.
Anywho, we're gonna talk expansion today. You might be thinking, didn't we talk expansion last Friday? Yes, but that was in the context of the Big 12 cities only,
Yes.
which included the likes of Stillwater, Oklahoma, and
Ames.
Lubbock, Texas, Ames,
Ames, Iowa.
Iowa.
Which you guys had rated too highly
No,
because
it's
you were
not.
pandering to Patrick Brown.
Of course we were pandering to Patrick Brown.
Why wouldn't we? But
Understand the
we're
assignment.
actually going to be a little bit more serious about it today. This is on the heels of Craig's diehard only article on GoPHNX.com.
Well, some of us are going to be serious. Some of us can't even remember what they said on the topic.
Because I didn't know we were supposed to.
Where's my quiet please sign? It is somewhere in one of those boxes, and I feel like I need it today. So yeah, Shawn is gonna go look for it. It's in one of those
I had
boxes.
really
I
clever
need it.
answers too.
I need it. But before
Probably
we
not.
get to all of that, before we get to our ideal expansions, our expansion names, which is what Petey is claiming he can't remember and Craig is refusing to pull up,
Nope.
we'll announce the winners of all of the names of the expansion cities in Craig's article, again, at GoPHNX.com for diehards. But before we get to all
I may
of
even
that,
read
Craig,
yours and mine.
and not Petey's.
Yeah,
Not
Petey's.
mine. That's funny. Now you're funny.
Before we get to all of that, and Shawn, if you
Okay.
can't find it today, we can find it for
It's
tomorrow.
all right.
But I feel like it needs to make an appearance this week because I am at my wit's end with both of you.
Yes,
I'm just kidding.
fair.
Lindsay's eyeballing us too.
We-
Like, you better settle down over there.
We have a couple of news and notes. This, again, you can go on GoPHNX.com. Craig published a story this morning about just updates on John Ferenacci, Jan Jenik, and Robert Mastrosimone. Some of these are still in flux.
Fluid.
Yes,
It's called
fluid.
fluid.
But one of them did just have an ending, and that is John Ferenacci. So, Craig, I'm going to throw it over to you, and we'll start with John Ferenacci.
Yeah. When his season ended at Harvard, I wrote all this. You can read this in the story. But when his season ended at Harvard, there was this strong sentiment that he was going to sign pretty quickly. And I've talked to John a number of times, and he really sounded excited about being here. So I have to be honest, I'm still not clear on what changed here between the end of Harvard's season and April, when suddenly it was clear that he wasn't going to sign. The Coyotes wanted to sign him. Bill Armstrong told me, there's a quote in the story saying, we like the player. We tried for 2 years to sign him. This feels like something that was maybe maneuvered by other people, maybe by his agent, Pat Brisson, or maybe by family members. And when you see he lands in Boston, you think, okay, he played at Harvard under Teddy Donato, who played for the Bruins for 8+ seasons. He knows that area really well. Maybe this thing was orchestrated, which is what you can do when you're a college player if you make it to the end of your college career. A lot of these guys, like Logan Cooley, don't want to stay for 4 years. They're ready to turn pro after 1 or 2 years. Ferenacci's the type of player that he's going to be a depth player in the NHL, right? He's not a top 6 star. So often those guys end up playing their entire careers. What it affords them is free agency. It's not like juniors. They are no longer property of the club on August 15th. And he used it to his advantage here, and now he's going to Boston.
But did he? And here's my question, Craig.
Mm-hmm.
And this
fair
is,
question.
First of all, when you're talking about the top players in the NCAA that go to play in the NHL, they leave after 1 or 2 years, almost en masse. Like, there are very few players that play more than 2 years that are going to be a regular top 6 player in the NHL. Fair? Is that a fair statement?
Yep.
And so when you look at a player that stays for all 4 years, you got to think, okay, first of all, where's he going to fit into an NHL roster? And then you got to go, okay, you're going to go to the Boston Bruins? The Boston Bruins. I know they just, Krejci just left, and Bergeron just left.
And my man crush left, yeah.
But you still got to look at their roster. And I know Blake Wheeler kind of played the same cards way back in the day, and they worked out for him to a certain extent. But when you look back at what Jack McBain did, he goes, okay, Minnesota Wild, they're a better team right now. Minnesota Wild are better. They're a playoff team. It's a good franchise. But I'm never going to play. So do you think John Ferenacci is going to step up and play in the NHL right now? Maybe he is. Maybe
with those defections, there's an opportunity there. But I did look at the Coyotes and think, now is still the time to get that opportunity with the Coyotes. The next couple of years, there's probably an opportunity for Ferenacci to work his way to the NHL pretty quickly.
Nick Bjugstad's not going to be here in 2 or 3 years. He's not. And so,
much to your dismay.
Yeah, maybe he'll be player coach by then. But then you're also, you look down at Travis Boyd's not going to be here.
Yep.
There's going to be holes in the center position over the next 2 years. And Ferenacci, in my opinion, and again, it's just me, he's not ready to step into the NHL tomorrow.
Nope.
So he needs to play in the American League.
Yep.
So why not? I don't know what happened behind the scenes. We'll see. Hindsight's going to be 23 years from now, and we're going to look back and go, okay, Ferenacci made the right choice. He's 3rd line or 4th line player for the Boston Bruins, and they're on their way up. I don't know.
Maybe.
I just think
the thing is, they like the player, right?
It wasn't like they didn't like him.
They think he has a very mature game. He's a really smart player.
Yes.
He plays an NHL style game, so I think I would not be surprised at all to see John Ferenacci make it in the NHL. Now he's not a top 6 player. He doesn't have the offense. That's just not who he's going to be. But he can definitely fill one of those bottom 6 roles because of his style.
To the question that Joel just said, he's not as good as Wheeler. Make no mistake, Blake Wheeler's elite. Like
people are saying he Wheelered us. That's why Blake Wheeler came out.
I get it, and Blake Wheeler is a very, very. I maybe regret to say these comments, so somebody clip it. I don't think it's a big loss for the Coyotes. I don't think it's a big deal.
No, and I mentioned that in the story too. When you look at who they have, clearly they don't have enough center depth. We've talked about that. But when you're talking about a depth player, it's not as big a loss. I mean, this is Logan Cooley. Obviously, that's a major blow to your organization. But you've got Cooley, you've got Barrett Hayton, you've got Jack McBain, and then you look in the system, you've got other guys as well. I mentioned Nathan Smith, of course. Connor Geekie. You've got a bunch of players that could be coming, and you have 13 picks in the first 2 rounds over the next 3 drafts.
Yep.
You're probably going to draft another center there.
I think we won't talk about it anymore, Craig.
Huge loss.
This will be the last time we talk about John Ferenacci for another year.
Probably.
I'm telling you.
Until we do
he'll get called up for Boston and he'll play a handful of games this season.
when we kind of sometimes take a look around and steal a segment from the D-backs spying on our exes.
Oh, he's played 3 games for the Bruins with no goals, no assists, and 2 penalty minutes.
And then he'll win a Stanley Cup because that's just what happens with former Coyotes. But we can move on.
Probably not without Patrice. Just saying.
Sad. We can move on from John Ferenacci, and let's stick with college right now. This is the one we don't know. This is the most. I mean, both of these other ones are fluid, but no decision yet on Robert Mastrosimone. We talk about him because he is a Sun Devil, actually a Detroit Red Wings draft pick, and this was a really interesting nugget in your story, Craig. This is the first prospect drafted under Yzerman not to remain with Detroit.
And Detroit had no interest in signing him. So that tells you something. He's a 2nd-round pick. So it's not like he was a later-round pick where you're
and
like,
in our redraft, per Sean DePaz, a 1st-round pick.
Buffalo Sabre, baby.
Yeah.
So there is the possibility that he can come back to ASU. He has another year of eligibility. But my understanding is that he's leaning heavily toward turning pro. And it's not just... If he gets into LC, he's probably open to other opportunities as well. I think he's really looking forward to turning pro. It's going to be a big loss for ASU. First of all, if he leaves, that means their top 2 scorers from last year, along with Josh Doan, are gone, and that's obviously an impact. And we had Greg Powers on the show, and you plan for that. That's the reality of college hockey. But those are 2 big names to take out of your lineup. We'll see how it plays out. I think this one could be resolved as soon as later today.
Oh, wow. So there are teams that are in heavy discussion, but he's another guy. He's gonna be an American League player to start. He's not ready for that next step. I don't think, again,
Yeah.
you never know how training camps go, but he's another player who's going to spend time in the American League. And if you're ready to start your pro journey, I get it. It's his extra year in college. I understand that decision. It's time for him, and I understand it. We'll see.
Yeah.
Last guy on our rundown of guys to discuss is Jan Jenik.
This one, Craig, what the hell? Like, this should have been easy. This should have been done. We should have been moved on from this 2 months ago. Fair?
He's Arizona's only remaining restricted free agent that the team has not signed. And per your story, Craig, it does not sound like that is close to changing. But this isn't like when William Nylander sat out from the Toronto Maple Leafs and you think, oh, they got to get this done. It's William Nylander. Like, no offense to Jan Jenik, but you didn't accept your qualifying offer of $787,500 to be exact. What? I just don't understand. I just don't understand this situation.
Few points here. Alan Walsh is his agent. I'll stop there.
Enough said.
That's one thing to consider. You're right, though. He has no leverage. He has no leverage here. He has been a spot player in the NHL. Injuries have definitely impacted his development, but he's also been inconsistent. It's not like he's taken the NHL by storm in any stint that he's had here. So you can't say, well, I belong in the NHL now. And when you look at the additions the Coyotes made to the roster,
Even
he wasn't
less
going to make
so.
this roster.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought earlier before they made some of their moves, okay, he might be a fourth-line player on this team now. No way, especially if you're talking about him being an extra forward. You don't sit guys who are still developing. It makes no sense. You send them back to Tucson.
Yeah, here's my problem. Sometimes players, you listen too much to outside sources, whether that's the media, whether it's the interweb, whether it's your agent, whether it's your mom, somebody telling how great you are. Sometimes you start to believe it, but numbers don't tell a lie. Like, right? Like,
Yeah.
But ball doesn't lie. You look at Michael Carcone, led the American League in points last year. He set a record for points by a Tucson Roadrunner. He earned himself a one-way contract. You look at what Michelli did, where he's a more than a point-a-game guy in the American League. Guess what? Jan Jenik wasn't a point-a-game guy in the American League. He wasn't. He hasn't been.
And if you're not going to be that point-per-game guy, and a point that Steve Huffman made, you need to find another role. You need to find an identity that will work in the NHL. He needs to be a really good defensive player, right? And he was still working on that because he hadn't had to do that in juniors where he is a point producer. So he's not at that place yet where he belongs in a regular NHL role. So
He's 22, Craig.
I know, he's 22, about to turn 23 next month. But with this situation, I've been told he has options in Europe, but
Great,
he wants
go.
to stay
Beat it.
he wants to stay in the NHL. Well, you're not in the NHL. You're in the AHL. He's hoping for a trade.
For
Maybe
who?
What's the attraction to Jan Jenik for other teams at this
He
point?
played
Maybe
2 NHL games last year, got no points.
And he was injured a majority of last season too. So
Yeah.
it's not like he just had a career year and he thinks maybe then that's his leverage. He thinks he can earn more. It's like you're not coming off of, it's not like Michael Carcone who just had a career year
Right.
in the AHL, or like you mentioned Michelli the year before in the AHL.
The truth is, he's not ready yet.
Nope.
And he's not ready to be that guy. He hasn't
could
figured it out.
be
You look at Connor
eventually.
Garland. Remember how Connor Garland was when he first was in the Roadrunners? He hadn't figured it out. Michael Bunting hadn't figured it out. Once they do, they're really good players. I'm not saying I dislike Jan Jenik. He might be a player. He might be an NHL player. We don't know yet because I don't think he's found his game yet. He went from being a point producer. Well, he's not that. Then he's trying to be this chippy, dirty, shit disturber rat. Well, all he does is sit in the penalty box. Well, you've got to find that line of when to play hard and be able to still be an effective player for that team. He doesn't know that yet. He hasn't figured it out yet. I hope, I don't know where the advice is coming from because I don't see him fitting on any NHL roster in this entire league, and including and up to the Arizona Coyotes. He doesn't make this team this year.
Yeah. A couple points on this. I mentioned Alan Walsh as his agent. Alan Walsh has been a pretty vocal critic of the Coyotes situation. And I'm not saying there isn't material there, right? There is. There's material to attack. But Alan Walsh is not a fan of what's happening in Arizona.
Fair.
So that could be playing into this.
Sure.
I don't know because Alan Walsh won't return my calls. So I don't know exactly what's driving this. The other thing to think about here is when you have an asset like Jan Jenik, an asset, right? what are you going to do to maximize that asset? Because every GM has to be thinking along those lines. Whatever the piece is, you have to maximize its value. If you're going to move it, what do you need back in return for Jan Jenik? He was a third-round draft pick. Do you want a third-round draft pick in return? Is someone giving you a third-round draft pick for Jan Jenik? I don't think so at this point.
Yep.
No, the answer is no. I mean, we saw it at the trade deadline last year and even free agency this summer. That price for Jan Jenik, again, he may be the guy. He may be. He may develop into the things that this franchise thought he could be when they drafted. He may, but he isn't there yet. And I think for him to demand and demand a trade or demand more money or all of these things, I just don't. I think it's too soon. He's 22.
Yeah,
and he was hurt for the majority of last year. So I think him passing on his qualifying offer was a mistake.
And to reiterate, if he does not sign with the Coyotes or another NHL team by December 1st, he is not eligible to play in the NHL this season.
Joel said he played 2 games from the penalty box.
He did.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
He just got out there, got a penalty. Second he got on the ice, he took a penalty again.
Yep.
He's got a long way to go. He's got a lot to learn at 22, and I'm not saying it's not there. It's just too bad that they weren't able to come to some kind of an agreement.
Yep, absolutely. We'll move on to our expansion ideas here in a minute. But Petey, I believe your BetMGM pick of the week hit.
Nailed it. Yep, I did Twins by 2. I said over 1.5, and
like minus 1.5.
Minus 1.5, and
they won 5-3.
They won by 2 because they gave up a late run in the 9th, but they were good. They were really good. Bailey Ober was fire.
Petey stays hot on baseball
My
bets.
baseball heater continues. Craig doesn't care, but I do because I actually guess what
you know who didn't win
I do?
Yesterday, Sean DePaz? The Cubs. They lost to the White Sox.
But you know what I do with BetMGM, Craig? I put my money where my mouth is. So my daily bet. Do you think I absolutely bet that bet? And I won real money. It was easy.
Awesome.
On BetMGM.
Yep. It's super easy to use. And if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code PHNX when you sign up because there's a few different offers depending on where you live. But for our Arizona audience, if you place your first bet offer, you'll receive up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if it loses. So if Petey gives you bad advice, doesn't matter. You'll get your money back up to $1,000. You can check out the show notes for full details. And now you can listen to Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-522-4700 Nevada. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., Kansas, Nevada, New York, or Ontario.
And I will say this to Brady, who lives in the Kansas City metro area. I'm not sure which state line because it goes right down the middle. But you're welcome first. But I also took the Royals just to win. And maybe I'll blame you, Brady. But they actually tied it and they went to extra innings. And I said, oh, my God, they were trailing the whole game. And I thought I was going to win 2 bets. And then they didn't. So
that's okay. That's not the bet you gave up.
No.
So nobody could follow. But what Brady does have in Kansas City is Circle K.
He does. Because they're everywhere.
They're literally everywhere. He's on the Kansas side, by the way.
Yes.
Good to know. Circle K, they're all over the country. They're in Kansas. They're in Missouri. They're in Arizona. They're in California. They're in Canada. Like, they're everywhere, which I love because it's consistent. You can find Polar Pops at any of them. You can find any of the Circle K branded stacks there. They're phenomenal. Lindsay's sitting right here. I saw Lindsay on the screen the other day. I saw Charles saw Lindsay on the screen yesterday. She's making her rounds. So if you get gas at Circle K, you might see one of us on the screen. So just make sure you're not missing out on all that great stuff. If you need gas, find a Circle K. You will find one very easily. Right now, you can text PHNX to 31310 to join their SMS subscriber club and get a buy one, get one free offer on 32-ounce Polar Pops. Brady said, never bet on the Royals, buddy.
Yeah, he's right. Yeah, I know better. I do.
All right. We're going to move into expansion talk. And Craig, I'm going to let you cue up this segment.
Well, I wrote my annual expansion dream story.
Gary, I hope you're watching.
He never does. Never listens.
He doesn't?
You know, I come up with a different proposal every summer and the NHL just says, yeah, thanks.
It's like when you
Actually,
send,
they don't even get that far. They
you
don't even
send
look.
a letter and then like some, intern like writes the automated reply. Like, thanks
Him
so much
again.
for your support of the NHL.
Him again.
Here's a sticker. Here's an NHL sticker.
I think it's much more nefarious that I can see them all in the league offices with this Morgan
They're
character
like,
again.
Craig again.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is how Petey
$1
is every time he
million.
sees Craig pop
Yeah.
up on his phone. Just
Exactly.
kidding.
So let's open it up with a general feeling. Like I had a funny response to this story, like somebody saying it'll never happen. They'll never expand to 40 teams. I'm like, really? Have you been paying attention to what's happening in the league? Like, if you don't think this league is going to expand again,
they're
you're
going to expand again.
clueless.
For sure, they're going to
because
expand
it's
again.
money. It's about money. They're like $1 billion per expansion fee. Come on.
Yeah.
Of course, the league owners are going to take that. So, when you think about expansion, what are the things that come to mind for you? First of all, where do you want
getting the Coyotes out of the Central Division? Whatever expansion will get the Coyotes out of the Central Division and into the Pacific Division, or whatever other division is going to make more sense logistically. But Coyotes and making sense logistically have never belonged in the same sentence
Central.
ever.
Central. Arizona.
Whatever needs to happen to make that happen, I'm sold.
And in the same vein, you go and look back with teams like Detroit and Columbus, who really belong, and they're in the Eastern time zone. Get them into the East, and they were in the West for a very long time.
Oh, whiny little Red Wings wanted to be in the Eastern Conference.
But that's what this does. That's what this does. That's what this needs to do. What do they need to be?
Major.
They need to be in the United States. Sorry, because it's about money, and we talked. It's about money. Guess what? Still, I'm sorry, Canada. I love Canada. My dad's Canadian. The Canadian dollar is not as strong as the American dollar. It's not. You are Canadian? Didn't know that.
I just wish there was a camera on, like, the look Shawn and I give each other. Like,
I can't see him. I literally face this way, and I can't see him behind the mask.
And I recognize how hard this is saying this from a Coyotes-based show, right?
Yes.
Because people can look at this market and say, come on. But it's about more than attendance. It's about more than will fans show up. The NHL has moved past that. Yes, it's still heavily reliant on arena revenue, but that means luxury suites. That means corporate sponsorships. Canada is, and then the new thing that's happened in Canada, players don't want to play there. They're leaving all these teams. They don't want to play in Calgary. They wouldn't want to play in Edmonton if Connor McDavid weren't there. They don't want to play in Ottawa. They don't want to play in a bunch of these cities. So you want to add a couple more in even smaller markets? I mean, it's a pipe dream in my opinion. But, you know, in the interest of this story, I did pander a little bit to Canada, as you guys know.
Yep. So Craig proposed 40 teams. I don't know if we're quite there yet. I think if you're going to
look down the road, I said I'm looking down the road.
But I think if you're going to expand, you have to keep it even in the East and the West. So if you're going to expand to, let's say, 34 next, I think it needs to be balanced, and either balanced.
That's screwy in divisions, though, right? How do you do the divisions then if you have 17 teams in a conference?
Yeah, that's true.
That's not my problem. I don't know.
That's true. So obviously, when we did our Big 12 expansion, we all put Houston at the top of our list. And for the sake of this conversation, logistics, an owner being willing to do it, all of that aside, and this is just us using our imagination.
The NHL loves Houston. They love Houston.
But what do we love? What do you guys, what is the number one, like, ideal, not logistically makes sense for the league and money or owner? Like, what?
You mean about me?
Yeah, like.
Just about me?
Yes.
Well, San Diego then.
Yeah.
Let's go to San Diego.
Just about me?
What city do you want to see in
Kansas
NHL
City.
team?
Bemidji?
Kansas City.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why Kansas City?
Well, my lovely bride lived in Kansas City for a very long time. When I became a fan of that sports community there, it's a really good sports city. It's centrally located. It puts the Coyotes back into the Pacific Division. I think it checks a lot of the boxes. I think you'll have instant rivalries. I like Kansas City as a sports town. I think it would fit.
Okay.
You?
I don't have an answer. Shawn's gonna say a second Buffalo team.
Yeah, second Buffalo team.
I don't know what's going on.
What's your ideal?
Shawn is not paying attention.
All about you. Expansion city for the NHL.
I
It's
don't
just
read the
about
goddamn
you.
rundown,
Like,
but
don't
at
think
least I
about
pay
the
attention.
Buddy,
once the
stop
show
talking
starts.
and let Shawn have his moment,
For
okay?
Christ's sake.
All about me?
Yeah, it's all about
you. Boy, yeah, I think probably the Hamburg something, which is the suburb of Buffalo that I live in.
There you go.
So a team in the South Towns.
All right.
Well, a little in-state rivalry.
All right. You
Or
really don't have one?
Let me pull up a map.
a team in like St. Catharines, just because I like
St.
St.
Catharines. There's Ontario's second
Yeah.
team.
There we go. Not Hamilton.
Erie on the Lake.
Not Mississauga, but St. Catharines.
I
right.
grew up going to
The
St.
Missis-
Catharines a lot.
Give me Boise.
Boise.
I also
I just pulled up a map.
a team in New Orleans. That would be vibes.
Ooh.
I'm not crazy about the city of New Orleans, but the food is
Oh my
stupid.
God, that
and
would be yes.
the party.
Again, it satisfies pushing the Coyotes back to
Yes.
the Pacific. I like that.
They were in my second tier.
Were
of
they?
American cities? I don't think it's
I'll
ever
read your
happened in
article
New
later.
Orleans, but yeah, maybe you should read the story at some point.
Don't have time.
So let me give you guys the 8 expansion. Leah, do you want to drive this bus, or am I driving this
Do you
bus
want me
now?
to? Do you want me to read
Here's
it?
the moment. Here's the moment. Here's the difference. We did the Big 12. Where the hell were all of our stuff, Leah? You put them on a background. I knew what they were. You put them on the screen. Craig did this. I didn't even know the 8 cities anymore.
Okay, I'll read them if you want.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, okay. So the 8 cities that Craig proposed. You want me to like say what?
Well,
how
I
you
can
did
do
the
that. I
divisions?
can do it. It's fine. You don't have to do this for me. I will give you. One thing I wanted to ask you before we get to this though is, how big is too big? And I hear people saying all the time, well, water down the game. The game's better than it's ever been. The skill level's higher. The speed is higher. I don't buy that. And the game's growing. So we have a greater pool of players to pull from than we did way back when it was 6 teams or, the various stages of expansion. I don't watch the NHL game now and say, oh, this is watered down. There are guys that don't belong here. I mean, occasionally when a team's at a rebuild, you'll see that, but I don't buy that. But what's too big? How many teams is too many teams for the
I
NHL?
think my gut is telling me, because now that we discovered the math problem with 34, I feel like 40 is like a little large. Give me 36, because then you can
36.
do 6 divisions of 6.
Okay. So you didn't like my 60-team
math.
proposal from like a year ago?
I don't recall.
We'll talk about it in a minute. Okay.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the 36 makes it an even number of 18,
Yep.
and I think you take time to build up to that. And I think that's a plan that's going to take you over a decade to
So do you do just 4 divisions at that point, 9
Yeah.
teams each?
Yep.
Okay. You can do that. Yeah. And obviously, you're not going to go to 40 teams. I mean, they're not going to add 8 teams in the same season. You don't
No.
do that.
That would
You
be
probably add 1 or
insane.
2
one or two a year.
incrementally. Yeah.
I agree.
And that's why I said long term here. So here's my 40-team NHL. Here's the Western Conference with the Pacific. Let me say that again. The Pacific Division, which has the Anaheim Ducks, the Arizona Coyotes, the LA Kings, the San Jose Sharks, and the Vegas Golden Knights. So no expansion franchises in the Pacific because why? You don't need it. You have this entire area taken care of. This corner of the world is already taken care of. And it's a logical geographical grouping, unlike the Coyotes in the Central. Next division, the Southwest Division. This has 3 expansion teams in it. Colorado and Dallas are in it. But then I've added Houston, we talked about, Salt Lake, which has been in the press a lot lately, and Austin, Texas, the one that nobody talks about publicly. Like, you don't hear fans talking about, you don't see a lot written about it. You talk to people in NHL circles, they've been looking at Austin for a very long
Seriously.
time. In fact, there are a lot of people that think Houston isn't the next place they go in Texas. It's Austin.
Wow.
Austin is blowing up in terms
Heard
of
it here
growth.
first.
It has
It
a lot
is.
of the metrics and things that really interest the NHL. So keep an eye on Austin down the road. That's your Southwest Division. I'll go a little faster here. Northwest Division, Calgary, Edmonton, Seattle, and Vancouver already there. And we finally had a team in Portland where the Coyotes, actually the one place where they almost
move.
ended up.
Okay.
That's
I like
your
that.
Northwest Division. And again, geographical grouping.
Yep.
It works.
Rivalry's
and then
great.
the
Love it.
Midwest Division of the Western Conference, the Chicago Blackhawks,
Yep.
the Minnesota Wild, the St. Louis Blues, the Winnipeg Jets, and Kansas City.
Oh,
There's your
but
Midwestern
not the
Division.
Predators.
Nope.
Okay.
They're in the Eastern Conference.
There you go. Smart.
Northeast Division. How about travel for this division?
Just get on a
Boston, New
train.
Jersey, New York Islanders, New York Rangers, Philadelphia Flyers.
Love it.
It's the bus division.
The bus division.
The Southeast Division, Carolina, Florida, Nashville, Tampa Bay. Southeast, all
Yep.
That
all
would
grouped
help their
geographically.
travel
and the
a lot.
expansion team there, the Atlanta.
Love
So
it.
You stay in the Southeast.
Love it.
I didn't know what to call this division, I have to be honest, because this area of the country really doesn't have maybe Shawn can weigh in on this one. The Mid-East Division has Buffalo, Columbus, Detroit, Pittsburgh, and Washington.
Yeah, that's the Mid-Atlantic. I would say.
Oh, I don't mind the Mid-Atlantic.
Mid-Atlantic,
it's-
even with
it's-
Detroit.
Yeah, I mean,
Columbus,
you could
Mid-Atlantic?
go Great Lakes, but then Washington doesn't really fit in there.
Right.
But like,
I don't mind Great
Mid-Atlantic
Lakes
is-
either.
That's
I
all.
kind of
that's
like Great Lakes.
all
That's
the
nice.
that's all the location or like
I like it.
those locations are all
Sold.
in the MAC conference, like the Mid-Atlantic conference in college
So we
sports.
could call
So-
it Mid-Atlantic. All
Great
right.
Lakes.
All right. And
Sold.
then I have the Canadian division with Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, and 2 expansion teams.
What?
Quebec, you finally get your team. And Hamilton, You get your team.
Where's Winnipeg?
At Jim Balsillie.
Did I miss
And
Winnipeg?
Espo
Yeah.
suggested that Hamilton be called the
Midwest.
Blackberries, which was a really good name.
Oh,
That's really
love
good.
it.
That's really good. If
So
you
those
know,
are
you
my
know.
divisions.
I love it.
I really like
That's
that. Craig.
how many team in league is that?
40.
That's 40.
That's 40. Just do it. Call Gary.
Gary.
Call Gary. That's brilliant. No, it's manageable divisions where you build rivalries automatically. It's geographically based in the country. You save on travel because you're not spending as much time on those long road trips. I love it. It's brilliant.
I want a team in like Brampton, like right across the border from Detroit. Have a fun rivalry.
I love
over
it.
there.
I think that's brilliant.
Well, Brampton.
thank you, Petey.
Well,
Or-
It's
Windsor.
the first time you've
Windsor,
ever said
yes.
that.
Yeah,
to
I
me.
was like,
That's the first time
Brampton's
we
more
used
of
it.
a
Clip it.
suburb of
Toronto,
Toronto.
right? Yeah.
Before we get to another ad read that I know you're dying to get
No,
to.
but I want to bring up what you're going to bring up is Europe.
Yes, go ahead.
So this has not just been discussed in, a hypothetical NHL
Mm-mm.
expansion situation. This has been discussed in the NFL and the NBA is a European expansion
Division.
division.
It cracks me up for the NFL. The NFL fancies itself this global league. It is not. It is an American league. Like they talk, 52 nations watching the Super Bowl. Yeah, because servicemen are watching it in those other countries. Other countries don't care about the National Football League. It is an American
Canadians
sport.
do.
And that's, but sorry, you're kind of a suburb. So
I've never sneezed on the air.
Craig.
I mean,
see, I sent it to you.
all I'll say is that the only games they played in Canada were when the Bills went up there, and that was my least favorite time in the NFL.
Craig just called Canada the suburb of the United States.
I mean,
and
That's
I
the
take,
American suburb of Canada.
I take great
That's
offense
spot
to
on.
that. Holy
a
shit.
fact.
Okay.
But for other sports, like baseball's not going to work in Europe either, right? Like baseball could work in like Central America and in the
Asia.
islands,
In Asia,
and,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
Southeast Asia as
I mean,
well.
it does.
in Japan.
Yeah, it's
does.
incredible.
Give
But
me a
if you're talking
Japanese
about
division.
Europe, you're talking about the NBA or you're talking about the NHL. They actually
Yes,
play. They have
they do.
leagues there that are high level leagues. So let's talk about Europe. Where do you want to go in Europe?
Prague.
Oh, hell yeah. Was that the photo, by the way, that
Yep.
you picked?
Yep.
Nice work.
Prague. Somewhere in Sweden. Somewhere in Finland.
Yeah, Stockholm, right? You got to go to the capitals,
I
don't
mean,
you?
you got to go to London. I feel like you can't. I feel like you can't
But
go to Europe.
England hockey's not big in England.
Yeah, but it's London. Like if you're doing like a professional
That's
NHL
true.
equivalent, like it's like that'd be like not having a team in New York City.
That's true.
Like I feel like you have to go London, Paris, like Barcelona, probably. Like if you're doing a legit league, you have to hit those big European cities. Probably Rome. Like,
Damn. I would want to play in the Europe division.
but like the Scandinavian division of the European division, like if you go like Oslo, you go like Norway, Denmark, Sweden, like that's some hockey.
Amsterdam.
Ooh, baby.
Ooh,
That'd be
how
a
about the
vibe.
Amsterdam flu?
Yeah, amen. That'd be like way worse than the Vegas flu.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a flu. It's
Something. Penicillin.
Get your OGs ready.
So, Craig, how the hell would that work?
Here, okay. So let's talk about this. Let's solve it for
Because
Gary.
I don't want to make that
Before
road
we
trip.
make the proposal to
Gary,
Gary, let's
we're
solve it for
solving
him.
it.
Okay. So I'm intrigued by this whole idea of just going to the major cities. Like I don't know if the NHL can go to Barcelona. I would go to Barcelona because it's a great city, but I don't know if the NHL can thrive
Sure.
in
it
Barcelona.
depends on what the goal is.
Stockholm, Prague, sure.
Yeah, sure. Could you go to Oslo even though Norway's not a big and it doesn't produce
What about
hockey players?
Riga?
But yeah, maybe.
How
You could go to
about-
Helsinki,
If
right?
the relationship was better,
Moscow.
in a European league,
Right.
Eastern Europe,
Like if
or
you
Western Europe,
at some
or
point you got to go to St. Petersburg and Moscow. Those have to be
Yeah.
if everything improves over there. Yes, you got to go to Prague. I was looking at some of the attendance from some of the European. It's amazing how well the Swiss league draws too.
Yeah,
So you might
I see that.
You might want to look and
Twist my arm.
you know
Yeah.
which
I'll
team
play in
led
Switzerland.
all European hockey leagues? Which team led all of them in attendance last season? SC Bern.
Really?
Wow.
and also,
Yeah.
don't they have some like pretty good financial rules for people making a lot of money?
Yeah, Switzerland's
They've
a,
had banks
a
there.
real-
I've heard.
like,
I don't have no money.
the players that I talk to that go and play in the Swiss league
Okay,
are like, oh
got
my
it,
God,
Craig.
unbelievable.
How does it work? Well, fuck, we don't get paid by the hour.
Oh
Let's go.
my God, the spice on today's show.
Well, let me tell
Sorry,
Where's the
Dan. I
OGs?
swore. I apologize.
Let me tell you, Petey, how it works. Okay. You either have, I don't think a European division of like 6 teams works. You can't, it's too much of a geographical challenge. I think in order for Europe to work, you have to have a European conference.
Yep.
So you have to have enough teams where you can figure out the schedule where they're playing primarily Europe. And then when teams from North America go over, it's like a massive road trip,
play
right?
all
You
of them.
knock
Like
them
2
all
weeks.
out while
Yeah.
you're there
Yep.
and then come home.
It's a
I
2-week
think
trip.
it could work that way.
Oh,
It's a 2-week trip.
I think you'd have to go like old timey Major League Baseball on it, where it's basically 2 separate leagues, and then the champions play each other in the World
That's
Series.
another thought.
especially because is there a realistic way to have the competition in a European league be the same as in an American league when you think about the
well,
money
if you're drafting players from the same pool,
I guess that's true. But do you think, like, from a free agent perspective,
I think there's an
Financially?
immense amount of challenges to
I
doing
think
it
the
that
money's
way.
there.
So if I'm playing for the Arizona Coyotes and all of a sudden I've got to play in Bern, I think the PA is going to say you're out of your mind. Like I just think that the obstacles to creating a league that travels like that, I think that asking a player to move from Scottsdale to New York is one thing, but asking him to move from Scottsdale to Riga, that's a whole nother.
Yeah.
I think agents so I don't think it's realistic at this point.
Right.
I do think that the separate conference where it's American League, National League, you don't play each other at all until the playoffs.
I feel like you have to I feel like you have to do two separate conferences. But I feel like the PA, like you said, they'd have to the rules would have to be like all contracts would have to include a non-trade
players get paid more money. That's how you'd satisfy the PA.
Yeah.
Just money.
Pay more.
It always satisfies. I'm definitely open to the idea of two separate conferences and you play each other. That happens now.
Yeah.
You play each other for the cup. But you might be able to. I'd still like to see those teams at least get one trip into Europe. And when you're talking about the teams on the Eastern Seaboard. Like the flight to
not bad.
Europe
It's better
is the
than
same as the flight
California.
to the West Coast.
Well,
yeah, you're right.
Do you think you would run into a problem with the European players not wanting to play in the States if they have an equivalent league in Europe?
If they what?
If they have an equivalent league in their home nations, essentially in Europe, why would the European players want to come to the States? Obviously, like you get drafted, but
money.
The
salaries are higher in the NHL.
But that's what I'm saying. If we have a European league in if you have a European NHL conference, why would the European players ever want to come to the States if they're making equivalent money playing?
All American Larks wants to play in Stockholm. I want to play in my home city. I'm going to give you a hometown.
Like living here though. Like some of them come and stay,
and you get a hometown discount for your hometown too. You could do that too.
But it's all fun to think about, isn't it?
It is fun.
It is.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting, and I think you're right. I think those teams would have to come over for at least one, maybe two road trips from them coming this way.
It's just good marketing,
and
right?
then the NHL teams would have to go there once for a 2-week trip.
Germany would have to have teams.
Yep.
I can think of so many places that could have teams in Europe.
I don't think they're there yet, but I think this could be a
the
global.
truth is you can never say never. Like,
I think it could be global. I think there's opportunities.
Not if you're looking for more ways for to bring in revenue.
Yep.
You always have to be open to these new avenues.
What do you think about? I mean, this is like NFL used to do NFL Europe, for example, and having a developmental league.
Yeah.
An NHL associated developmental league, like moving the E there, for example.
I think the problem with that is there's so many leagues in Europe already. Right? Like the NFL didn't have any presence in Europe, so.
But I mean, that's at that point, you're just. I mean, it's not like the ECHL is a massive draw, anyways. Even like that would, if there are NHL prospects, I feel like that would be a decent draw in Europe.
I'm surprised that more teams don't, and I know it's hard to keep an eye on them from a developmental standpoint, scouting standpoint, but I'm surprised more teams don't use the Swiss league or a couple other leagues over the Swedish league as a development league for their players, like what Austin Matthews did. And you have to be the right player, right? But Austin Matthews went and played in the Swiss league against men, and it really prepared him to step right into the NHL. Obviously, he's a star anyway, but what's that?
That's what soccer does. Like, there's franchises who own, like Manchester City, for example, owns NYFC. Like, there's clubs that own clubs all over the world, and they can kind of use them almost as a farm system of sorts.
I'm really surprised they don't use it more, honestly, because it's a chance to play against men. Now, you can argue with college, at least. They're a little older, right? It's older than juniors, so you're getting to play against more physically mature. But juniors in Canada doesn't prepare you for that at all. And there's a mentality, especially in Canada, there's a mentality still that you got to go the junior route. And obviously there are a lot of great players, but from a developmental standpoint, to get the chance to play against men, what prepares you better?
Mm-hmm.
All very interesting to think about. Nothing's happening on that front yet, obviously. I'm really excited to hear the winners of all the expansion teams Craig just listed from his story. You all named them, and we're going to read them. Petey's trying to rack his brain to remember what the hell he submitted.
He can't remember.
I remembered some of them, Petey.
He doesn't remember what he had for breakfast.
Some.
You and I also had the same on one, so we'll get to that in a second. But we're not in Europe for now. But there are a lot of new players coming to Arizona, and for all of them, I hope they packed their Shady Rays because it is sunny here, like 360 days. You got to protect your eyes. And Shady Rays, they have polarized sunglasses, which is super important for eye protection to get polarized sunglasses. Shady Rays, they stand by their glasses. If you break them, if you don't like them, if you want something different, you can return or exchange them for free within 30 days. They stand by their products. We all have Shady Rays. We all love them. I need to get another pair here soon because I like having one in my purse, in my car, at my house, all over. And I can do that with Shady Rays because they're affordable, unlike, designer sunglasses, but Shady Rays look like they are and are the same quality. So check out Shady Rays right now. They are giving out their best deal of the season. You can go to shadyrays.com and use code PHNX for 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. When Shawn was running around earlier looking for the Quiet Please sign, so nobody can tell because our set looks the same, but we completely reorganized this part of our office and we were consolidating all of our bobbleheads. We have so many bobbleheads, and
I did bring a lot in myself, I remember.
A lot of them are from Foco too, because Foco has so many bobbleheads. They have so many, I don't know, knickknacks, I guess would be a good word for it. Go on their website, foco.com, FOCO.com, and just type in your favorite sports team, your favorite Arizona sports team. If you're Brady and you're a Chiefs fan, they have Chiefs gear. Whatever you're looking for, they have it on Foco. Great gifts, great ideas for the sports fans in your life. And they have our back for Arizona sports and yours too. So get the best gear around by visiting foco.com and using code PHNX. And for all non-presale items, use promo code PHNX for 10% off. All right, Craig.
I do have to say, because Alan brought it up, something we didn't even bring up is the Saudis. They are pumping money into Western sports.
Sports washing.
Yeah, it's 100% what's happening. But I mean, if there was a
Riyadh,
if there was a U.S. league interested in expanding to the Eastern Hemisphere, the Saudis would definitely try and put their name in that conversation.
That is a good point.
That'd be fascinating.
All right, Craig. No.
Name the expansion team. This was fun, actually.
Yeah, this
doing
was
this.
Fun.
This was a Die Hard only story, but I allowed people to.
It was interactive.
Yeah, it was interactive,
Very
and
fun.
people got to name or throw out possible nicknames for the 8 expansion teams that I proposed in this story. Again, apologies. San Diego didn't show up the first time. I don't know why it wasn't showing up. There was some weird glitch, and I had a busy weekend, as we know, so I didn't even notice it for a full day. But I got San Diego in there, and I got some fun responses. So I'm going to read. I'm definitely going to tell you the teams that won, but I want to read some of the entries because some of them are really funny, particularly for San Diego. San Diego had the Cartel, had the Chupacabras, and I like unusual names. I'm such a big fan of Seattle Kraken. I'm so glad that they broke the mold, thought outside the box. The winner was actually the Gulls, which is what the AHL team is called now. I went back even further. Do you remember the Mariners back in the WHA?
I don't.
Okay. I went to a game at the Veterans Memorial Coliseum and saw the San Diego Mariners play the Phoenix Roadrunners when Robbie Ftorek was playing for the Roadrunners.
That was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago, buddy. Dating myself. A few others to mention for San Diego. One other, the Seals.
I put that.
I want the Seals back in the NHL somehow, some way.
Yeah.
Big fan of the California Golden Seals. All right, so that's San Diego. Do you guys remember what you submitted?
Sailors.
Sailors, okay. And you put Seals. Did you take part? Thanks. Appreciate
Thanks
that.
for your contribution.
Thanks for your contribution.
Wouldn't have
Sean.
mattered. You wouldn't have made a graphic for it because Craig didn't. Never mind.
There's beautiful graphics right here, Peter. Look at them.
Keep going.
Atlanta. The winner, 2 winners actually. The Thrashers, the old team, and the Frozen Peaches.
Oh. Oh,
Frozen
the logo
peaches.
for your frozen peaches?
That's pretty funny.
A lot of things.
I put peaches, like normal.
There's a lot of things for frozen
Okay.
Do you
peaches.
remember?
I, like,
See,
I
I
do remember
Overall,
mine.
Peaches kind of wins then, right?
Mine was, do you want to know mine?
Actually, Flashers is another one.
Flashers?
Yeah,
I don't mind that. I
Flashers.
was the Breeze because in that division, you've got a lot of weather things. You've got the lightning, you've got the hurricanes. And I went with the Gone with the Wind theme of Atlanta Burning because they can't have the flames because they're in Calgary. So I went with the Breeze, like the
Breeze.
wind.
I love
Breeze.
it.
The
All right.
Atlanta Breeze.
All right, Austin. I don't know where this came from. I don't know this reference, but the winner was Weird. The Austin Weird.
Like, is it
First
stay
of all,
weird? Is
I'm
that
not a fan
their-
of singular nicknames, so
I was.
Yeah, I think it's like the keep Austin weird type
Okay.
thing
Oh,
because
that's-
it's like
that's
the
what it
Austin
is.
locals.
Yeah.
Oh my God, there's a baseball team called the Austin Weirdos.
See, we need
There
to
you go.
learn more about Austin.
I did the ranch hands
Okay.
because
like
I was
that.
thinking Yellowstone and Texas,
And
the
the
cows.
Longhorns.
The other two
Yeah,
that got a
horns.
significant amount of votes, the Stampede and the Armadillos.
I don't mind the
am a
Stampede.
I
big
said
fan of-
armadillos.
I don't
Me
mind
too.
armadillos either.
That was
I
my
like
choice as
I
well.
know you don't like singular names. I like the Austin Lasso.
Oh, that's
Don't
good
hate,
too.
All right.
Don't hate it.
Gotta get the
Houston,
Bulls.
by far and away, people wanted to stick with tradition there and go with the arrows. And
Fair
I like
enough.
that. I voted for that as well. So there were several votes for the Houston humidity, however.
That
which
was
is
me and Petey.
Literally
so true.
We thought of
Houston
that on our
humid-
own.
The Houston humid.
Houston
Like the
humid. Love it.
Humidity. I feel like it's a mouthful.
Smother you. I like
Yeah.
it. There's a lot of good marketing. stuff.
Salt Lake City. Not going to read one of these.
I imagine
Yeah.
there's several.
Yeah, you can think of that. The Wasatch, Sasquatch, and Grizzlies. Those were three good
Do you
choices.
remember
right there.
yours?
I
like
said the Yetis.
Brady, I think said the beehive, and I like that because it's the beehive state, or the
Oh.
honeybee state or something like that. Yeah, I like a bee theme.
I
That's a
forgot.
good
I
one.
had something clever. I forgot.
And this is strange again. Portland again. Weirdos.
I think
That was-
I think Portland's phrase might be "keep Portland weird" because
Yeah.
or Brady
Okay.
said that it was Austin makes it weird. I think Portland is like a keep Portland weird type. thing.
Beavers and Lumberjacks also came up for Portland.
I don't
Yeah,
remember.
those would be good.
You
I
didn't
put
look it up
Pines.
for me.
I'm
Fine,
surprised
okay.
with Houston, no one went any kind of space theme. I know that might
That's
be a
true,
little.
actually.
Well,
You
it's
could have
so
done
funny
that.
because
but-
like in the first 5 minutes of the show, I was like, the Houston astronauts, and I was like, you idiot, the Houston Astros. Like,
Yeah.
God damn, that was a whole
and
thing.
Rockets, so it's
Yeah.
like they're taken, right?
Yeah.
But all right, Kansas City, formerly the Scouts. Mobsters was a popular choice. Monarchy was a popular choice, and the Scouts, the old
Oh,
Scouts.
the saucers.
I
Like
said
it's barbecue
I
sauce.
said
and
I
sauce
said
pass.
barbecue.
barbecues.
Well, yeah, but I feel like the sauce, it's you got sauce, you
Like
do sauce
sauce was like a
pass,
hockey
Yeah.
barbecue
phrase.
sauce.
Yeah.
There was one strange response in here, and I'm guessing you guys know where it came from. It's the Kansas City Michaelas.
Oh, is that the city that hates her?
Yes.
Yes,
Oh,
that
okay.
is really funny. That's
is there
funny.
more than one? No, I went with fur traders because it was settled by the Kansas City fur traders, settled by French fur traders.
A little historic.
Yeah, historical.
trappers.
I like that. I like
Yeah,
that. The
trappers.
trappers.
Trappers,
Trappers.
yeah.
Good.
There
you
Yeah. All right, Hamilton, the Alexanders.
That's funny.
The-
Yeah, the
you guys
Alexander
wanna-
Hamilton.
do you guys want to sing right now?
No,
Do you want
we
to break
don't.
into song? Because
No.
I know you can. The Blackberries. Somebody else chose
I
that
like
as well
that
as Espo.
What is that? What's the deal with that? I
The
don't know.
BlackBerry phone was.
Remember the old BlackBerry phone? That's where Jim Balsillie
That's
was.
from.
Oh.
He tried to move the team. Jim
From
Balsillie was the
Hamilton, yeah.
CEO or
Okay.
owner or
It's
whatever.
Canadian
I don't know.
company.
You can watch the BlackBerry movie. It's
Yeah, there
I
you
heard
go.
it's really good.
But I don't mention the Coyotes.
I
oddly
did,
enough.
I had a
Gary
BlackBerry
Bettman
back
is
in
in
the
it.
day.
My name was the Not Leafs, the Hamilton Not Leafs.
That's funny.
Hammers was another popular
I
choice for
forget what
Hamilton.
I immediately went to the either like the
Oh, I
the
think I
cat
said
tigers.
the
waterfalls.
Tie Cats, yeah.
cat
Wow.
tigers. Yeah.
Some of these nicknames,
Lion
but the last
Cats.
one is Quebec on the list. Somebody went with the De Gaulles, but the Nordiques won in a landslide.
Landslide.
Yeah,
in a
you would
landslide,
have to
people
do
want.
that.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Yeah, you got to go back to the Nordiques.
I went, the Yeti? I thought the Yeti, but the Yeti's more west, so I went the Barbagazi. The Barbagazi is a French Alps mythical creature in France, and so Quebec and France and mythical creature along the lines of the Yeti, but it's called the Barbagazi.
What's
So
the
Quebec-
Barbagazi look like?
He's more of an elfish creature with really big feet because he skis with his feet. It could be some cool, like it's a Yeti thing, but
you
he's
got
like
you
a,
got
he's
a
like an elf.
full 180 from Gerald off to the side.
I
The
said-
the Quebec Barbagazi.
I said the Quebec Carnival.
Oh, I
All
don't
right,
hate.
look at you.
Don't hate.
I feel like you got to go.
Is this segment
we gotta
over
do
yet?
something. We got to do something
Carnival's
French.
amazing in Quebec, by the way.
You got to do something French, or go like the Mounties. I feel like the fact that there's no Canadian.
But that would have to
Professional
be
sports
Ottawa
Mounties.
because they're like everywhere in Ottawa.
Yeah, I mean it's the
Mounties.
capital because that's the same thing. I think I in NHL one time I had the Quebec City 67s or something like that.
Yeah.
It was the year that Canada was whatever.
Wouldn't the
founded
Mounties
or-
be good in Calgary instead of taking the Flames from Atlanta?
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree.
That'd be
The
great.
Mounties-
I really like that.
Can we
I
make
like
that?
that
Can we
nickname.
make
That's a
that
dope
though?
logo
If a
you could
team
do.
moves, you can't just move the name just
Yeah.
because.
Like Utah
Yeah.
Jazz.
Utah Jazz.
But I mean,
Calgary
Los Angeles
Flames.
Lakers.
Because who doesn't
Lakers.
think of Jazz
Lakers,
when
Los
they think of
Angeles
Where are they
Lakers?
from? Where are they from?
Minnesota.
Minnesota,
Yeah, it's
buddy.
dumb.
Lakes.
Los
Heard of
Angeles
it?
Clippers
It's
from San
branding.
Diego.
It's like the Big Ten people. Oh, you got to keep Big Ten.
You
because
don't.
of the branding. It's the word big. It's not
Yeah.
that big a deal. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, well, those are the winners. Great suggestions in the chat as well, Craig. I hope you do more interactive stories like this. That was a lot of fun. People are extremely
I will
creative.
remember to write mine down because I know Craig won't put the extra work
I'm
in to
actually
do
proud
that.
of myself for
Not for you.
remembering. Okay, before we wrap up here, Craig, you have a little anecdote from Connor Garland's wedding.
Yeah. I talked to Connor Garland. Apparently, Clayton Keller's best man speech was next level. He said it was great.
Oh,
I'm surprised
I
from
would
him.
love
He's
to see
come
that.
out of his shell.
Kells
this
is
year.
David
big
Schmaltz
time come out of his shell.
karaoke.
Yep, we didn't know.
Christian Fisher was the life of the party. This
Not
surprises
surprised.
no one who knows his fish. And I asked Connor the over-under on Garland children, and he set it at 4.5.
Oh,
so
boy.
we're looking at a large family coming.
Also, speaking of everyone getting married and engaged, Troy Stetcher got engaged like the other day.
Yeah.
So,
Stats, because I'm sure he's listening, right?
oh
'Cause
yeah, this was funny.
for sure.
Your text,
Buddy,
us.
like, what do we talk about him all the time with Stats? What is the main topic? His fashion and his drip. Dude's getting married. You're taking the picture for Twitter, Instagram, forever is going to live that picture. What's the dude wearing? A ball hat and sneakers. Like, really? Like, you are the best dressed Arizona Coyote, and that's what you show
Maybe
up
he
to
was
to get
trying to
engaged
catch
with.
her by surprise. If
Buddy.
he had dripped down a little bit, she would have been
He
like,
I
dripped
can't
out.
wait to see his wedding suit. That's all I'm saying.
Right?
I was disappointed.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll get you. You could bring it up to him maybe on a
ask
walking
him.
and talking
I'll
this
ask him.
upcoming season. We have a lot of great stuff planned for the Coyote season, which is just a little less than 2 months away now. We're almost there. But regardless, we're here 5 days a week on the PHNX Sports YouTube channel, and it's a great time to become a diehard. Join the family. Join our Discord. Our Discord is like nonstop hockey conversation or not hockey conversation all day, every day.
Often off topic,
Yeah,
yeah.
but it is a great community for Coyotes fans. So become a diehard today. Join the Discord. I don't know what's going on right now. You
I
can,
did.
yeah, that's true. You can
I
check
did.
out phnxlocker.com. Craig and Petey are both rocking PHNX tees. Grab your membership, and you can receive 20% off merch, 20% off on events, and access to Craig's diehard only pieces, like the one we were just referencing, which was interactive and a ton of fun. So those are weekly as well. Lots of great perks to becoming a diehard. Any other comments?
No, I
before
think we're good. We got a Die Hard
out?
Town Hall coming up again here in the
Yeah,
next couple of
Petey,
weeks.
we were talking about it.
Yep.
We have a really good idea for it. So
Yeah,
So stay tuned.
I really like that idea.
yeah,
So
so it's going to be a lot of behind the scenes.
you don't know yet.
A lot
A
of
lot.
behind the scenes stuff.
A lot of off the record stuff in that one. But everybody, so much. Thank you for being here. Be sure to hit the like button before you leave and subscribe to the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. If you haven't already, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts as well. And you can follow all of us on Twitter at SPetersHockey, at Leah Merrill, at Craig S. Morgan, at Shawn_DePaz. You can follow the show at PHNX_Coyotes. We'll be back live tomorrow at 11 a.m. But until then, everybody, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and we will see you all tomorrow.
Bye.